What up, guys? It's your boy DJ, and we're back with another video, Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So, I've been asked a lot lately with territory wars coming up that what are the best teams for offense and defense? So I went ahead and decided to really sit down and I sat with Darth Vapor, and him and I kind of came up with some ideas, and I put them together of what I think my top 10 teams are for these two different parts of the game, defense and offense. Now, obviously, this is a team situation, so you really want to have your entire guild help out, but it's always good if you come up with a specific section for each one. And for me, I'm all about factions. I'm a faction-based player. I love my factions. There's different factions that you can play on each side. And honestly, I think the factions is the best way to go. So we're going to take a look at what we do as far as our section and just kind of divide up and show you guys what are good offensive teams and good defensive teams. Now, let's go into the inventory here. And I specifically pulled up a section for territory offense and defense. So let's go into the defense. Now, this is not in any order. I'm not doing a rank 1 through 10. These are just 10 different teams that I think work best for specifically right now defense. So let's look at the defense. The very first team that I would tell you that I'd recommend is obviously Jedi Training Rey. She's incredible. She's amazing. She can pretty much do a lot of things on her own. There's a few things she can solo that it just blows your mind. So her two droids, and then throw in 2 resistance people to go with it. The reason why is the more resistance people you have, the more specials that you're going to be able to use, the more that the AI knows how to use this faction, and it just makes the Illuminated Destiny come faster. It helps BB-8 to be able to keep people under stealth. It helps him to burn because you're able to get through all of those different things. So it's a really, really hard team to beat. My suggestion, speed them up as much as possible. CLS teams, the old CLS teams. Now, I would go all Rebels on this team. Take Thrawn out, take everybody else out, go all Rebels. I use Lando because he has an incredible AoE. I use Ahsoka Tano Fulcrum because she just hits like hard, as you could possibly imagine. And I use Old Ben. Old Ben is my taunting tank that keeps everybody away from everybody else. And you notice that they don't have to be Gear 12 the best. These people aren't going to be going after your CLS team with another CLS team. They're going to be going after your CLS team with a D, C, E, F, G team. Any team that's weaker, because all the best teams are being put onto that guild's defense. Another wall that I recommend is what we call the Phoenix Wall. And I'm going to show you this on the map here in a minute. But the Phoenix Wall is incredibly hard to get through. Again, they're not facing these teams with the best teams out there. They're not going after them with the Meta Palpatine team. They're not going after them with the Titans team. They're going after them with Rogue One teams. They're going after them with older Rebel teams, bounty hunter teams. They're going after these people with other teams that aren't very good. So a Phoenix Wall is really hard to get through. The Emperor Palpatine meta team, perfect team to go through. The more debuffs you can put up, the better, which is why I have Vader on there. I have Tarkin on there, Thrawn on there, and TIE Fighter Pilot. Every one of those guys throw up debuffs. Every one of those guys will speed up the thing, and it makes it to where the person attacking is really having a hard time, and you're going to have 2 or 3 or 4 teams attack your one team. Same thing with a Nihilist lead Zeta. Or if you have the Maul Zeta, that's another good one. Those 2 Zetas with all Sith. These teams are hard to beat because they're going to constantly regenerate. Or with the Maul Zeta, they're going to constantly miss. It's a really hard team to go against. It's a great team for defense. The Rogue One. Now, people always ask me about this one. Why put a Rogue One wall? The reason why is because of Chase and Chirrut. Those 2 right there are really hard to get through when you're dealing with that specific team. Again, they're not going after them with meta teams. You're going after them with non-meta teams, your D, E, and F teams. So if you're going to attack the impenetrable wall of Chase and Imwe, and you throw in the other three that are going to just throw up debuffs everywhere, and Jin has the thing where she throws up exposed constantly, that's going to be a really hard team to get through. If you have an entire wall of Rogue One teams, which you should because of territory battles, it's a great wall to put up for this thing. The next one is obviously the General Kenobi Barriss wall. Everyone knows that it's really hard to get through. My suggestion would be to go with all Jedi on this team. I went with Ezra because he calls for an assist. I also went with this lovely gal right here who again calls out an assist. There we go. You can see that every time she goes into battle, she calls in an assist. It makes it to where it's hard for the other team to go against it. And then obviously Yoda, because Yoda can throw up the tenacity up. Again, it makes it really, really hard to go against that specific team. Night Sister wall. Who doesn't love a Night Sister wall? Everybody cringes at it and usually goes for whatever the other section is that's next to it. Enough said. Another Empire wall. This one here, I put up the Mandalorian wall with Gar Saxon because he will constantly, anytime you attack any one of these guys in the Empire faction, his leadership allows people to retaliate if they're Empire. And every time they retaliate, he retaliates. So it makes it a really hard wall to get through. But realistically, any Empire wall will work as long as they're Empire people. We always have an Empire wall on ours. It's really hard to get through. Same thing with, I talked about this one earlier, the Maul wall. It's really hard to get through. And then if you have all these other Sith guys that you can throw on there, and it doesn't have to be these ones specifically, any Sith will work. My suggestion is to always have Sith Assassin on there. She always speeds up the team really, really well. And then Dooku, because he's going to constantly regenerate health, and anytime you attack him, he's going to go back after that person and attack again, and the odds are you're probably going to miss if you have to retaliate. So this is what I call 10 really good defensive teams. If you look at our wall specifically, I will show you what we use. We move it around a lot because we've been messing with it. But we use pretty much the same strategy. We just move the walls around. So we start off with a Sith Empire wall and a CLS JTR wall. These two are our front defensives. You want to have your two best squads up there. Right now, the Emperor Palpatine meta is really hard to get through. It's obviously it's meta. And then you have the JTR CLS, which is the previous meta. Those two are the toughest teams to get through, so we put them there so that they're going to use up the absolute most power and the most teams to get through it. You can see that they haven't even tried the CLS wall. They skipped it. They went straight to the Empire wall, and it's been almost 12 hours now, and they still have one team left to go. And if you go inside and look, you'll see where it's taken 2 battles, 5 battles, 2 battles, 3 battles, 2 battles. That's what you want to see. You want to see people going after them and using multiple teams. That is how you know that your teams are working, because they're having to use multiple teams to go after your specific people. That's what you want. After that, we put up the Phoenix wall, because if they're able to get through the CLS wall, they're not going to be able to get through the Phoenix wall, because they've used all their really, really good guys to get through the CLS wall. That all they have left is crap to throw at the Phoenix wall. Same concept with the 60 plus K wall, which I believe was our General Kenobi wall. I think we changed it midway through. Yeah, this was the General Kenobi wall. Our guild didn't have a lot of General Kenobis in it, so we decided to go with it. But this is our General Kenobi wall. The GK Xeris wall is really hard to get through. And again, if they're able to get through the Palpatine meta, now they have to go through and fight General Kenobi and Barriss. They're not going to have enough left to do it. Now let's move on to another faction. The next one would be, this was our Rogue One wall. So we changed this when we put 60K afterwards, because it allowed any stragglers who didn't fill up the entire thing to fill in whatever places they could. But this was our Rogue One wall. Again, now they just got through CLS. They got through Phoenix. Now they have to go through Chase and Barrett. Chase and Imwe. That's a hard team to get through when all you have left is crap. Same concept with this one up here. This one was our First Order wall. Now, remember, they have had to go through CLS, they've had to go through Phoenix, or they had to go through Empire and then they had to go through GK Barris. The next thing they have to do is go through First Order. First Order constantly goes. If you have your First Order modded well with a lot of critical chance, they will always, always, always gain turn meter, and it's one constantly after another, after another, after another. You will not get a chance to fire back. We almost never get this far because nobody's really ever made it past that defense, the first two defenses. The next one on here is what we did. We did fodder. We just put 80k fodders up in the back. We knew that nobody's ever going to get back there, but realistically, the idea was to put the Night Sisters in one, and then to put some sort of Rebel team, Empire team, whatever team in the other, or just pure fodder at that point. But like I said, we put 80k teams back there because we wanted it to be random teams, but teams that had enough power to get through. Now, when it comes to your ships cost a lot of points. They cost a lot of banners. So we put the weaker ships up front because they've gone through a whole bunch of walls. So now when they see the ships, they're thinking, wow, ships. Okay, we'll take out the ships. We put our weaker ships up front. We put our heavier ships in the back. And when I say heavy, I mean we put all of our arena teams in the back. The odds of them having that many arena teams left over after having gone through the first wave is not very likely. We've never gotten really into ships all that often anyway because it's really hard for them to get through the first levels, period. You can see they literally just broke through right now. And it was hard for them. It took them 12 hours to complete 22 battles. So it's really hard for them to do that. Now, when we talk about offense, there's not a lot of teams that are left over after you've used all of your high-power teams. So my suggestion for you is I actually put a lot of my offensive teams into this file right here so that way I could find them later on. But you can see we use the Imperial Troopers as one really, really good offensive team. They will kill Night Sisters in a heartbeat. So if you go up against a Night Sister wall, you have your Imperial Troopers. I used the Empire meta on here. I used... this is what we call the leftover resistance team. Obviously, you've used a bit of your resistance team for the first one. Nobody really has Haldo and Tico geared up, so they're kind of pointless to even try to put them in. But you still have left over Poe, Pilot, and Finn. And Finn Zeta is still very useful with those three. They're going to constantly score hits. I threw a couple of Night Sisters in for healing, and I threw in another Night Sister for the critical chance up. That way they're hitting hard, but they're also still getting their exposes. The Ewoks is another good one to have on here. They will help you get through Phoenix. You don't realize it because you've probably never thought about using Ewoks against Phoenix, but Ewoks against Phoenix are actually a really good battle. Now, you're probably going to get really close to timing out on that battle, but the Ewoks can take out a Phoenix squad. Bounty Hunters is another good one. The old Rebel squad. Yes, the old Rebel squad. That would be the Wigs, which used to be a good team back in the day. SRP is a good one. ST Han is a good one. There's a bunch of good guys that you can put on there. Jawa. Doesn't seem like they would do much, but they actually can put a dent if you have your Jawa geared right. So, again, Jawa is another good team to put on there. The old droid meta. You can combine your Jawa and your droids together, and if you guys remember, it used to be the three main droids, which you see on screen, and then it was, I believe, Nebbit and the Engineer. And the Engineer would feed them turn meter, and then the droids would just destroy you. So that was a good meta from back in the day. Obviously, the Bounty Hunters are on here. Jedi is another good one that you guys can use, especially if you have Zeta Qui-Gon Jinn. They are able to get through a few teams out there, especially if you're going after some of the more high-powered teams. So those are good ones to use. And then, yes, Princess Zodi is a great team to use. That's what you see down here at the bottom. As long as your Cody is sped up fast enough, I believe you have to have him at least at 200, then you're able to go pretty often with his special, and Princess Leia is able to give critical chance up so that they're constantly hitting over and over and over, and you don't have to worry about any cooldowns on Cody's special. So those are just some of the teams for offense. Offense is really hard. Offense is pretty much whatever is left over in your roster. Now, obviously, you're not like me. You don't have a 3 million GP. If you are, then you're very lucky, and you've done a lot of good hard work on this thing. But if you don't have a 3 million GP roster, then obviously you're not going to have all of these teams, but you're going to want to put your best foot forward. Those teams are hopefully some good ideas for you guys. If you guys have any other teams or any other walls that you guys use, please let me know down below. I would love to get some ideas in and bring them back to you guys and share them to everybody. You can also share them on our Discord server. We also have our Merc server, so if you're having a hard time with the tank raid, or if you're having a hard time with the Sith raid, or whatever, you can come to our Merc server and we will tell you and teach you how to do the different things. And we also have Mercs that jump over there. Obviously, nobody has a Merc yet for the Sith raid because it's still brand new. It's going to be at least 6 months before somebody's able to solo the thing. So, but if you're having a hard time with the tank raid or the pit raid, come to the Merc server. We will help you guys. We will teach your guild what you need to know. I also have a video that I will tag down below that helps you to learn how to Merc a tank. And how to get your guild to be able to do everything you need it to do. So I'm really happy they have new ships coming soon. I will keep you guys posted. I will make a ship video as soon as that comes out. And then also they have the new Han Solo and the new Chewbacca coming out soon. As if we needed another Han Solo and Chewbacca. But, you know, it is what it is. So anyway, until next time, you guys need something, you know where to find me. See you later.